We have literally invented Skynet after having multiple movies talking about why Skynet is bad.
It was a complete show of a season.
I never had access to their
portal or anything.
There were a couple times when the kid who I think is going to be our starting quarterback had an interception, and then he ran and scored on himself because he turned around and ran to the same end zone that the offense was going toward. I don't know if they misunderstood me, but all of them said that they wanted to play center.
Cash has already said that he's not interested in doing Halo hoops again because of how much of it was. And for a 8 to 9-year-old to say, wow, that says a lot. That was part of the show was they had 8-year-olds playing against 11-year-olds. Yeah. Wild.
Real men wear pants.
What?
Welcome back to the He's Wrong, She's Right podcast. I am your beautiful bearded hero, Andrew. This is my hero, yeah. This is my lovely, beautiful wife, Nona, who is my co-host of the show.
Who is your personal hero?
Say hi.
Hello.
She's new here, guys. She's been reprogrammed. Just kidding. So
what
today,
is wrong with you?
I don't know. It's a good intro, though. People will like it. Yeah. So anyways.
Only your fellow robots will enjoy it.
No, I don't have any. The robots don't have friends. They are one thing. It's like.
I said fellow robots, as in other robots.
That's not a thing. So, you know, those funguses that grow and like intercommunicate with each other under trees and stuff?
Sure.
It's like one giant living organism. It's kind of what like Skynet is. It's one organism that just has actionable.
Okay, stop talking about your robotness.
Huh?
I said, okay, stop talking about your robotness.
Tell me I'm wrong, people of the internet. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
It's called a hive mind, and even our military equipment uses it now. One jet can see something with its radar and communicate with another jet hundreds of miles away to shoot something down. There's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's pretty cool.
It's a whole thing. Yeah. You would know because you're a robot.
Yeah, we have literally invented Skynet after having multiple movies talking about why Skynet is bad.
Okay.
So maybe if my car had Skynet, and I forgot to bring the safety bracelet. Should I go get that?
Go get it.
If I had my safety bracelet from Chuck Ritter, maybe I would have been safe from the moron that rear-ended me on Sunday. Or for when you're watching this last Sunday.
Go get it.
I don't want to stand and walk all over there. That's far away.
Run.
For anybody?
Run.
You go get it. You go get it.
Run.
You have legs?
You're right, I have legs. I don't know where you put it.
It's on my desk.
See? Do you guys see this? I have to go do his shit.
Actually, he sneaks off camera because he doesn't want to stand up on camera. But anyways, if anybody is familiar with PT belts in the military and wherever else people might potentially want to use PT belts, crossing guards in school. Yeah.
There you go,
Thank you. So Chuck Ritter has these amazing PT belts for sale on his website, chuckritter.com, where he also has his training shopping carts. They're little shopping carts that are about this big, so you can practice putting them in the
your
cart
away. Wow. Okay.
And then the hottest item on the store, a bright orange shirt that says Pants Shitters Union, because real men shit their pants.
What?
I actually don't know the origin, but it's a joke when people are talking about how he's not real special operations or whatever. And he's like, you know how I know you're not? Because you don't shit your pants. Real men and real special operations, special forces shit their pants.
What the fuck?
This is also the same guy that invented the alpha male.
Okay.
Yeah. Which that's kind of died off. I haven't seen anybody talk about that in a while. So anyways, he has these in yellow and orange. So you can, whichever color you like best.
Are you going to put it on?
Yeah.
Are you going to show people how you know how to click on a bracelet?
Do I?
I don't know. You look like you're having trouble over there.
Well, it's because I'm a two-handed kind of person. This is...
It looks a little tight.
That I was loosening it that whole time, but yeah. So,
is it supposed to be that tight?
I don't know. At least it doesn't move. I don't like when things move. Like if I had a watch, it has to be like in one spot. I don't like when it moves. So anyways, if I would have been wearing this on Sunday, Nona.
Yeah, but now you've jumped to the end of our conversation. This is your typical thing to do. I even ran down the topics in the order of what we were going to say. And this was the last thing that we were going to.
Stay until the end of the episode to hear about what happened on Sunday, March 2nd.
Okay.
Was that March 2nd? Did I get that right off the top of my head? Yeah.
Yes. Good job.
And before we get into what you wanted to talk about, this Sunday, daylight savings time.
Whoop, whoop.
Hooray! You'll lose an hour of sleep, but at least you get your daylight back.
Yep, I'm excited.
So, talking about sportsing.
Yep. So we're just going to run down what has occurred in our life in the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Basically since New Year's.
Basically since New Year's.
Since January 1st, 2025.
Sure. So while we were in Puerto Rico, I received a beautifully desperate email from the basketball coordinator and saying, your child has been placed on this team, but there is no coach, and sent it to everybody on the team. I forwarded it to Andrew and I was like, hey, Andrew, you want to coach Cash's basketball team? So he reached out to the director and said, I can take this on. I'll do it if nobody else has stepped up. And she placed him as the coach. And then that was it. No further communication after that. He had no roster. He had no idea when practice was, when the games were.
This is
anything.
Halo Hoops for anybody wondering. And we found out this past Sunday that's where we were coming from when the incident occurred, that there were 2,600 players.
Right.
This
So,
season.
and it's like one of the only basketball leagues in the entire town, and they are overrun. I get it. But at the same time, when somebody volunteers their time, the least you can do is email back.
So what I didn't know, and I kind of noticed it at some of the games, the coaches were wearing like a themed t-shirt. So I didn't get the equipment from the organization. Right. They had to find balls at the first game. So I didn't even meet the team until the first game. We didn't even
We
have
were
practice.
literally standing at the entrance being like, are you on this and this team? Because this is the coach.
Yeah. So I might have had kids on the team that didn't even sign up for that team.
God.
But they were like, oh, we don't know. We don't have any of the stuff. So the guy went like scrounged up a bag and found a bunch of spare basketballs and pumped them up. They weren't even really like well inflated.
And then I received the information about the locations only because I had already signed my child up. And so I was passing on all this information to him like, hey, just so you're aware, practices are at this location at this time. And he was like, well, I still haven't received anything. And the game is at 10 a.m. this Saturday. And he was like, what the fuck? Nobody's told me anything. Yeah. So it was a complete shit show of a season.
I never had access to their
portal or anything. And then pretty much like 2 or 3 days later, Cash's flag football coach from the previous season, who Cash loved, and he was a great coach, sent out a message to all the parents saying that he was leaving our league and he was going to a different league, and he was inviting parents to sign up with that new league. But I had already signed Cash up for flag football through the Y, thinking that he was going to be on the same team. So I sent that to Andrew as well. And I was like, since this has been a shit show regarding the basketball signups, why don't you go ahead and reach out to the football director? And I gave him the email. Well, he did.
He's the director of
all the sports, but the only difference between the basketball and the football is Halo Hoops is like their own internal organization, and it's run by a different woman. So that's why Lee couldn't help out at all.
It's a family. We learned that at the ceremony on Sunday.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anyways, so he reached out to the sports director preemptively, knowing that the season was going to be coming up starting the same week as the last week as basketball, saying, you know, I'm volunteering to be flag football coach. Let me know what else you need. No response. Then I reached out to the coach who Cash had and said, hey, just letting you know, Lee let me know, the director let me know that he has no idea that you've left and is still placing kids on your team. And then I started receiving multiple emails from the YMCA saying, your child has been placed on a team, but we are in and I mean, they literally said, we are in desperate need of coaches to volunteer. So I have been a soccer coach previously, but football, I know nothing about. Basketball, I know even less about. So yes, I would be happy to volunteer my time, but I would not serve these children well by just standing around being like, go ball.
So this is also for anybody that might have this in their area. It's actually an NFL program.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an NFL flag football, youth flag football rule book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 9 pages or something like that. And then the YMCA has their own changes.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main changes is that in NFL flag football, if a team gets up by 4 touchdowns, and they do have extra points in that, which not field goals, but they do. So you have touchdowns and so you have 1 point conversion is a run, 2 point conversion is a pass after you score a touchdown. So you don't have that at all, which is fine. Everybody you just get 7 points rather than 6 and then potentially 7 or 8. And then if a team...
See, you've already lost me, and that's why I could not be a coach.
In the NFL rules, if a team gets up by 28 points, 4 touchdowns, it's an automatic mercy rule, and the game just ends. Okay. And so they did the right thing, the YMCA that is, and they set it so that it's instead of ending the game, because there's been times when there's back-to-back scores really fast, either an interception or they score a touchdown, and then there's back-to-back defensive plays. In this league, you could realistically get up 28-0 in like 5 minutes, and the game's just over. That's disappointing for everybody who came out.
Right.
That's not worth anybody's time or money to even be in a league like that. So they set it so that there's a different, there's different rules adjustments, and I've read through some of the stuff, and it's kind of weird. But the one thing that I don't like, and you can already tell that it's this way in kind of all of these youth sports leagues, is that they don't allow or encourage them to continue the play. So on offense, say, our quarterback throws somebody a pass. In normal football leagues, the rest of the team runs with the receiver, either to block the defense or just out of encouragement, whatever. And everybody runs to the end zone. Everybody goes down there to celebrate. In this league, you're supposed to stop moving and only let the defense run after the ball carrier. And that teaches kids not to pursue the play. So I don't like that rule. The other problem that I have with it is that there are kids who, no matter how many times you yell at them to stop running, forget that that's a rule, and they still want to go and run and encourage their teammate or throw blocks and stuff like that. So this past practice, I don't know if you heard me, I kept yelling that. I'm like, offense stand still. But it's hard when I don't have like practice jerseys, so that I know who's on offense and defense. So I know I pick the teams and they're all running out there, and I'm like, I don't remember who's who, and I don't think they do either. I mean, there were a couple times when the kid who I think is going to be our starting quarterback had an interception, and then he ran and scored on himself because he turned around and ran to the same end zone that the offense was going towards.
But it's also his first year playing, right?
I actually don't know. Because he missed the last practice and then came to this one, and now there's potential that he's going to miss the game on Saturday.
Oh, no.
So, but I did get practice reps for 2 quarterbacks. So that way yeah. And of course, week 1 practice, I asked all the kids what position they wanted to play or what they had experience playing. I don't know if they misunderstood me, but all of them said that they wanted to play center.
Okay.
And then in practice, they're like, I want to play quarterback. Can I play quarterback? I'm like, guys, I'm going to try and get people into rotation, but I need to identify who's going to start.
Right.
And then get them up to speed. And then when there's an injury or when, somebody needs a rest or doesn't show up for a game or something, then I have backups to come in that fill it. Or if we get up by a lot of points or we're down by a lot of points,
Right.
then you bring these other guys in to get them reps and experience and stuff like that. And so, yeah, practice kind of went chaotic because everybody's like, can I be a quarterback? I'm like, next practice, let's get our starters their reps. You guys are starting at, you're either starting at receiver or running back, or unfortunately, we don't have enough people to run practice at full manpower. So I didn't have running backs in practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easier position to manage because they're just essentially typically being handed off the ball and taking off running. In a normal league where there's actually like an offensive line, there are plays, there are gaps you want players to run through and things like that. But in this league, it's just keep away from the guy trying to pull your flag. There's not much more to it.
Right.
So I wanted people to throw the ball, catch the ball, run routes, understand what routes are, understand how to get open, get away from the crowd, tried to do some of the defensive stuff, setting up the cone a couple yards back, like that. The one that I couldn't figure out what they were doing last year. That cone that they would set back in the defense, where I kept thinking that was the line to gain for a first down.
Okay.
That's where if the defense wants to blitz, they have to start from behind that cone.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I read the rules. I know all the rules for the league. There's a lot of really weird ones and ones that they definitely did not enforce last year. So I'm wondering, I'm being prepared for the eventuality that they do enforce them this year. But I have a feeling, because it's arbitrary and subjective, the refs at any point in time can decide, oh, we're just going to give a verbal warning, or we're going to fully enforce this rule. And if I ask for an interpretation of the rule and they still don't hear my challenge, we could lose a timeout for it. And we only have one per half.
Oh, fun.
Where the NFL has 3. So, yeah. It's both good and bad. Like, there are some things where at a low level, at that entry level, they say, oh, we have more kids that return because they find it more fun, but you're also not teaching the fundamentals, which is the point of a youth league. The point of youth sports is to get players to understand the dynamics of the game, the rules of the game, positions, identify where they excel, identify places where they're underperforming, figure out if they want to change positions or if they want to learn something new and improve themselves, or if they like where they're at, and learn how to catch a ball, learn how to run with the ball, learn how to participate in the sport. And then they're like, we're going to take some of that away. We're going to take away some of the stuff that won't translate into higher leagues.
So about halfway through basketball season, where Andrew at this point had given up any kind of communication with the lady that he had emailed multiple times asking to be on the portal and such, and at this point had already emailed the sports director for the YMCA to become coach of flag football with no response. So on February 14th, Valentine's Day, this was now the 3rd email that I had received from the YMCA saying, hello, YMCA NFL flag football families. We need a coach for your child's team. And then they go on and on and on to say, we're a volunteer based. We need you to sign up. Now, this was the 3rd email in a row, roughly 3 days in a row. So I emailed back, forwarding the email, but directly to the director. Good morning. I have received several emails regarding the desperate need for volunteer coaches on the flag football team placement. Cash's team, the Rams, is currently without a coach because his previous coach left the YMCA and is with a different league now. I know several children have followed him to his new league, but I had already signed Cash up for the YMCA prior to him announcing his departure. My husband, Andrew Lemacks, who is currently coaching Cash's basketball team, has also reached out to you offering to coach the flag football team as well. I'm reaching out to follow up on that volunteer position as I know the YMCA is desperate to fill it for Cash's team. Andrew Lemacks has done a superb job volunteering as a basketball coach for Cash's Halo Hoops team and would like to continue to volunteer his time to coach Cash's flag football team as well. If the YMCA is still desperately in need of volunteer coaches per the multiple emails sent, can he be placed as team coach? Question mark. Thank you, Nona Phelps. And then literally at midnight that night, he responds, "Hello, Nona. Thank you so much for the email. I'll reach out to your husband and follow up."
And then he did.
And then he did. Like, and this was literally 2 days before the first practice, which was going to be the last practice of basketball also. So Cash was placed
What do you
on...
mean was going to be? It was.
It was going to be... was placed on a Monday at 5 p.m. flag football practice and a 7 p.m. last basketball practice, which Andrew was the coach of both. So he was back to back that... Luckily, it was just one day. At two completely different locations. So he was coach of the year that day for Cash.
Coach of the year for a day?
For the day, yes.
Yeah, coach of the day.
Sure, coach of the day. Okay. So anyways, and then that weekend we had the end of basketball season party here at the house because that Saturday after that last practice was their very last game. And that was probably their best game of the season.
Scheduled game.
Yeah, because again, the whole thing was a complete shit show. Cash has already said that he's not interested in doing Halo Hoops again because of how much of a shit show it was. And for a 8 to 9 year old to say, "Wow, that was a shit show," that says a lot.
Yep. And we went to, so there was supposed to be a final game, but it wasn't on the calendar. So when I'm receiving information from a parent rather than like the coaching information, I don't know that there's another game. So I had told, and all the families believed, that the season was already over, that the last game was the day when they all came here for hot dogs and hamburgers for an hour.
It was more than an hour. People were here for like 2.5 hours.
But
they had a blast. All the kids were playing.
Yeah. What I'm saying is they came over for just a small little party. We all assumed that was the end of the season.
Right.
And then
only for the next Saturday morning at midnight to receive an email saying that it was the final game, but then there was nothing on the schedule.
Yeah. And so most of these kids were already, same how Cash was already in football.
A lot of them are signed up for travel ball.
They either had tryouts for a baseball team or a soccer practice or something else that overlapped. So they were already going to miss that game no matter what. And then on top of that, in the book that we received, the coach's book, it doesn't have any information other than at the end of the season, because it's an evergreen packet, right? They can reprint it all the time because there's no dates that they have to change. So it says that there's going to be an event at UNCW at the Trask Auditorium basketball court, whatever.
Coliseum,
whatever. That's a very. I was very underwhelmed when I walked in there.
That was where I graduated.
Even my high school's basketball court was bigger, which, to put that in perspective for you, right? Like that's.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm aware. Our facilities here in the Wilmington area are.
But for a basketball state and a basketball school.
I've never thought of UNCW as a basketball school.
They think they're a basketball school.
In the last probably 5 years.
No, it's been it's been since the early 2010s at least, because they did make it into either the NIT or maybe the NCAA tournament, one of the two.
They're slowly creeping up there, but they're not synonymous with like UNC State, Duke.
No. But in the tournament, because there's 64 teams, a lot of these smaller colleges, universities sneak in there. Places that you've never heard of. Like there's one, and actually it's not a super small school, but it's kind of a funny one to reference. There's one called Loyola Chicago, who's made it several times. Michigan's even played them, and they have a nun or something like that. I believe that is with the school or Her name's like Sister Jean, and she attends every single game. So she also attended all.
I'm just picturing like a dunking nun now.
She's like 90 years old.
Damn.
And
Okay.
she's like wheelchaired into every game. She's always there. She's basically the team mascot. And until I had seen them in the tournament, I had no idea Loyola Chicago existed.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So anyways, you guys went to UNCW for the final ceremony. God, please enlighten.
So we got there, and as we walked in, they had a table outside so you go like into the building itself, and then there's, what do you call it? There's a term for like the outside of a stadium, but you're inside the building, but outside.
Like the lobby area?
There's a term for it though. They don't call it a lobby, but that's basically what it is. So we go in there, and they have this table set up, and they have the medals for all the players and teams and stuff. So I walk up, tell them, coach, they give me the medals.
And you said like only one other kid came?
2.
Oh, 2 other kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elias came and Grant came.
Out of 8 kids on the whole team, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so I had reached out on Saturday and said, hey, I apologize, didn't know about the last, the final game that's not on anybody's calendar.
Right.
So nobody's planned for it.
Right.
And I'm like, and now I'm learning that there is this event that's in the book that I had asked about, and nobody told me a date or anything like that. And so I sent out a text. One person responded that they couldn't be there. A couple of people thumbs up or whatever. And then only 2 actually showed up. One of them happened to be somebody that lives in our neighborhood. And then another kid that I actually don't know where he lives. So I still have the majority of the team's medals because they didn't show up, and I've reached out and said, hey, have your kid's participation medal. Nobody seems to care. They don't even want it. The kids are like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Cash took one of them to school to give to one of his classmates.
Yeah.
Who
was on the team.
To be clear, yeah, was on the team. Not just
some random kid.
Yeah. Elias's dad took one for one of the kids that lives or that they frequently are with or around.
Who probably goes to their school.
I thought the majority of the kids did.
Yeah, it was pretty much like a half and half, but yeah.
No, it was 2 and then everyone else.
Right.
So, yeah, we get there and they have this big long line. Did I send you or add those? Okay, so as kids came in, they were encouraged to come in there.
No, I got nothing from you until about an hour after this.
I'll show it to you. They had a line of kids where they can go and shoot a free throw. Okay, so there's supposed to be 2,600 kids there, and there's 2 hoops, right? So you can imagine
a hell of a line.
You can imagine how long this line got. It ended up wrapping all the way down the court.
Except probably only about 50% showed up.
Right, but I'm saying
But
that
still,
the anticipation is
over
that
1,000 people in line. Yeah, that's wild.
I think Cash got 2, maybe 3 shots because we were there early enough that the line was short initially. It was like about to mid court.
Gotcha.
And then by his second or third shot, it was all the way to the point where it was wrapping around the hoop on the other side.
Wow.
So then they introduce themselves, and super awkward, like, celebrate us. We're the ones that founded it. This is my wife. These are my kids. And maybe one day you'll be tall like my oldest kid. And here, let me drag out somebody else's kid to compare heights.
What?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I thought you were joking when you were saying
it was like a 6-year-old kid that was like as tall as this table right here. And they're like, and then compared to the league founder and owner's oldest son, who's like 19 or 20 years old or something like that.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah. And so, and I didn't know this because obviously they didn't play in the same location, but there was a girls' league and there was a unisex league for like 5-year-olds. So the girls all sat on one side of the auditorium.
Okay.
The boys all sat on the side where I sat, obviously. And they had somebody like walking through the bleachers on their side to like ask them, how'd you like it? And this and that. So the owners and the people with the microphones were already really hard to hear. And then they're like, tell us how you like the league. And yeah. You're like, did you turn your microphone off? Are you afraid of what they're going to say?
Yeah. It was a shit show.
Yeah. So they're asking these kids, and then they start asking for volunteers for stuff. The guy on our side, they did like what's it called, where you have the chairs, musical chairs, but they were doing like musical chairs basketball.
Okay.
So all they had a boys' side and a girls' side, And then they had obviously one fewer chair each round than they had players. And they would all walk around with the dribbling a basketball. And then when the music stopped, they ran down the court to take a shot. When they make a shot, they run back and take a seat. So they go through that whole process, and like nobody's paying attention. Nobody's doing anything because all the kids that were like, me up in the bleachers, and people were running down trying to, the guy was like walking around ignoring them and grabbing kids that were sitting in the stands that didn't want to go out there.
Oh.
With, I think, maybe 2 exceptions. I think they started with 6 kids, maybe 7 kids, something like that. There was the kid that scored a bunch of points on us like 3 weeks ago, on the green team. You know, like blonde kid. He's like 8 feet taller than the rest of our team.
Oh, when they were playing against 11-year-olds. That was part of the shit show was they had 8-year-olds playing against 11-year-olds. Yeah. Fucking wild.
So, and so as I told you, so there was also a girls' league. And so they were playing at Mustard Seed, at all the different YMCAs, I guess at a couple various different schools where they had access to. And they just put you at the location that's closest to your home or to your kid, the coach's kid's school or whatever. But that meant that rather than driving an additional 5 minutes, depending on where you live, to continually play people within the same age group, you were playing various age groups and teams. Yeah. There's nothing that makes a kid, as can be gleaned from what Nona said about Cash. There's nothing to be gleaned from a kid getting destroyed.
Right. By somebody who's 2 to 3 years older than you, that you are clearly looking up at going, wow, this kid is definitely not only not my age, definitely not in my grade, probably in middle school.
It's a different skill level.
Yeah.
And it's not competitive. So
and it makes the kids feel like crap after.
Yep. So that whole, I don't know what they were thinking.
So then I didn't hear anything from him other than they were getting ready to leave, and I needed that time because I was at home cooking dinner and I needed to know exactly when to put the pasta on. I was making chicken Alfredo, and all of a sudden my phone's blowing up.
Yep.
And he goes, some asshole rear-ended us.
Yep.
I was like, what? So please share what happened. They were pulling into the neighborhood.
Yeah. And I saw this car. I mean, if anybody's familiar with the area that we live in, US 40, College Road, whatever you want to call it, it's always super congested. It's basically bumper to bumper. You never go the speed limit because there's always some old person in the front of the line, the pack that you're in, driving 5 or 10 under. And this car was driving super erratic. I had seen them flashing their headlights at cars that were behind us. And when I merged over, went to pull in the neighborhood, and there's a big pothole as you pull in. So you kind of got to do this weird jut out of your way, but you don't want to hit the island that has the sign or the median or whatever, and then kind of cut back in. And as I did that, I had seen them, like I said, flashing their headlights at cars behind us and like driving up on them. So I'm assuming they're just mad that the car's going slow and whatever. Well, come to find out, he was mad that we were in the fast lane, driving faster than them, safely merged over a couple cars ahead of them, and then turned where they were planning on turning to. Is literally what he even told the cops.
That's wild.
Yeah. So he said that he was flashing his lights at me, and I was like, in what world would I even know that?
Right. If he was like 3 cars behind you, how would you know that he was flashing at you?
Yeah.
But they were going like 10 miles per hour at this point in the neighborhood, and this Honda Civic literally rammed the back of his truck and totaled. Enough
to do all of that damage, and all the fluids are leaking out on the ground, all their coolant, and I don't know what else is in there, but they ended up having to be towed. They also weren't even smart enough to turn off the car.
What?
The people across the street that watched all this happen, they're like, hey, maybe you should turn off the car. And they were sitting there with the car running with no coolant and whatever else fluid was leaking out of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a dumbass.
And he's like screaming, berating, yelling at
so
dispatchers.
when he called me, I could hear him in the background and I was like, it sounds like he's on drugs.
Yeah.
And he turns and he's like, hey man, what drugs are you on?
Yeah, he was holding a chunky vape pen thing and just screaming, got into an argument with his passenger. Yeah, I don't even know.
And then when the state trooper got there.
Yeah. Well, no, it was deputy showed up first,
Oh, okay.
and he said that he doesn't have jurisdiction, but dispatchers told him to come there because the people in the neighborhood said that the guy was like dangerous, yelling, whatever. He didn't give me full details, but he definitely hinted at it. He walked over to us first.
Gotcha.
And, he went up and talked to Cash, made sure he was okay. Asked him, were you were wearing your seatbelt right and this and that. And he was like, yeah, I'm sore from it, whatever. And I turned to the deputy and I was like, dude, super hostile. And I don't know if his body camera was on. I think normally there's a light that comes on, so I don't think it was on.
I don't know.
But I was like, dude, super hostile. He's like, yeah, I know. They told me. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know who they is, but I can only assume the dispatcher is they. Because I didn't say it on the phone. So they either had to have gotten that from his tone when he called.
Or somebody in the neighborhood called in addition to.
And there were people at the house right in front that were out. There were like 3 people, I believe, that were outside. There were at least 2, but I thought I saw 3.
Just sitting and chilling, watching.
They were doing something in their garage, moving stuff around. They saw it all happen. But yeah, then the one guy, who I'm assuming is the owner, he got his little stool, his little rolling stool, and rolled it over to the back tire of his truck. So he was sitting in the middle of his driveway between 2 cars, like as if he was working on the wheel of his truck.
But really just watching what was happening.
Yeah. And as I'm like leaning over the bed of my truck, because the deputy had gone back, and he like mouths over to me. He's like, dude, it's fucking crazy. And I was like, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you guys are okay.
But I mean, and so the speed limit right there is 15, I believe, when you turn into there. And we were going not even 10. And I never achieved a full stop when I was trying. I don't know if you guys could see, but there's cars parked on both sides of the road and they're parallel to each other. So you get that funnel effect where somebody's going faster and you're playing chicken, who's going to get through first, or if somebody's already kind of over, you slow down and wait. And so that's what had happened. I was getting ready to go through 2 cars that were coming up and slowed down to let the next person come through because they were ahead. Never even came to a complete stop, and he just slammed us. And obviously from the amount of damage, he wasn't only going 15 miles an hour. I actually think he was accelerating.
Right. That's what you stated.
Yeah.
You were pretty sure it was a road rage situation and this guy targeted you.
Yeah. And he admitted both to the dispatcher, I think possibly his insurance company, and to the police, that he was tailgating other people to get to me.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Why? For one, why would you do that? For 2, you're only incriminating yourself. You're driving too close, dangerously too close. You're at fault. Literally everything under the bus, right? Fortunately, I had the ball and hitch in the receiver of my truck, so his front bumper ate that. But my rear bumper, again, fortunately, it's actually metal. I don't ever walk around the car and check if all the panels are plastic or metal, right? So the rear bumper cover, it's bumper cover, not bumper, is like kind of like you know how like a dog will like push their
So it's like a squatted back bumper now.
Yeah. It's like when you're puckering your butthole and you like push your hips forward. That's what the rear of the truck looks like.
I mean, you did say in the previous episode, apparently you're gay, so the back bumper is apparently
been pushed in.
Yeah,
literally,
it got fucked.
Yeah. So who knows? I haven't been able. The insurance adjuster said that they accepted liability and just waiting to see to get my truck in. If you're not carefully looking, because the scratches and stuff in the paint, it's a work truck trim level. It's old enough. Stuff can happen. There's no other damage on this truck. Never has been. And so to have like a couple scuffs and for the bumper to be bent a little bit.
When that other Honda Civic is basically totaled.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, their hood is all messed up. Their radiator, obviously, possibly. Like, that wasn't just a little love tap. That was slammed
He
into
rammed
me.
you guys.
Yeah.
He fucked your bumper.
Yep. With a 9-year-old in my car and a dog in his, and his girlfriend or wife or whatever passenger. And then, of course, he's screaming at me the entire time, right, on the road.
What did Cash think about the screaming? What did he say?
I don't actually know if he heard it because he stayed in the car with the heat on. It was blasting because it was cold outside that day. And I'm sure he did hear it, but he probably didn't know who it was targeted at. He can't see in the mirrors. I was on the other side of the vehicle. You know, unless he was doing one of these numbers, but I never saw him turn around. I don't think he.
But Cash was checked out by the EMTs, and they gave him the good to go.
Bruised.
Yeah.
Bruised
just from the seatbelt doing its job.
Yeah.
It locked on him.
Yep. So.
But he doesn't have a bruise now, 4 days later.
Oh yeah, it was a mark now.
Yeah,
bruise,
yeah. He said his pain was 2 out of 10 initially, and was basically fine the next day.
Yep. So yeah, now I'm dealing with that. It's not anything unless the frame is bent, which they didn't. Unless they hit the hitch hard enough that it.
When are you going to take it in?
I called yesterday and left a voicemail because she sent me a response email and said, call me. I called in the pickup line, left a voicemail, haven't received a response. But the voicemail message says that they respond to all forms of messages within 24 hours. So we've got 2. We'll see.
Claims adjusting.
Yeah.
Not a fun gig.
And there was no pushback at all. It was just,
we've accepted responsibility.
Yep. And I believe, I'm uncertain, because the State Highway Patrol, after they run your information, they give both drivers a slip that has your license, registration, and insurance information on it. And he had the paper folded in half. So I saw him hand what looked like 2 things, and I believe he signed for a ticket. And then when he walked up to me, I thought he was going to give me a ticket at first, and I saw what it was because I've never had this experience, especially not in North Carolina.
Either.
Yeah. So it's just a folded piece of paper with my information on one half, his information on the other half. Yeah. It's like 23 or 24. It doesn't say the full date of birth. It's just the birth year. So he's either 23 or 24 years old, and he was going to buy a TV.
And he was mad because he wrecked his car, and now he obviously couldn't buy his TV.
And he said, and I quote, I didn't think I was going to wreck this one too.
So he obviously has a history of being an erratic driver.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, that's all. Thank you for listening to our story. Maybe I'll put that picture on there. I'll blur out that woman's face because she's probably a victim of him.
Yes. Definitely blur out her face.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode, whenever that is.
And if you guys are coaching any sports, please give us your personal stories. We would love to hear.
Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Thank you for making it to the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So everybody has like a club for who makes it to the end of the episode. There's like, I'll acknowledge you if you make it to the end of the episode.
Okay.
So
what's the club?
Well, we do have the Always Right Brigade already, which are subscribers, paying subscribers and stuff. So we got to find out the victim committee. I don't know. Comment below. Let us know what we should call it. We'll poll results and see what we can come up with. And once again, whoever this person is the doofus of the week. This comment right here, if I remember to add it into here. Otherwise, I'm going to look like the doofus of the week doing this.
Goodbye.
Bye.